King Charles has reportedly cleared the air about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's royal titles amid reports of their married relationship. The British royals' policy about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is very obvious amid growing speculation that Harry and Meghan's relationship may hit their breaking point under pressure as the couple are spending more time apart. There are people within the royal family who don't believe it's going to last. Even if the rumors of split become truth, the king reportedly won't strip Meghan Markle of her Duchess of Sussex's title. A palace insider has claimed. Previously, royal insiders claimed that senior aides were considering a golden handshake arrangement for Meghan, aimed at limiting fallout and avoiding a repeat of Princess Diana's explosive 1995 Panorama interview. Some believe the palace won't spark a media war with any of such decision that could force Meghan to take an extreme decision. On Tay's other hand, Tay King, 77, is desperate to rebuild his bond with Harry and spend meaningful time with his two youngest grandchildren. Contrary to what a lot of people think, Charles is actually rooting for Tay Sussexes. He wants Harry to be happy, and he wants to see his grandchildren grow up in a happy home. He feels very protective of them all. There are very few decisions that King Charles III has faced since ascending to the throne that carry the kind of personal weight this one does. Because this isn't about state visits or constitutional reform or even the ongoing questions about the future of the monarchy itself. This is about family. And specifically, it's about a title, 3 words that have the power to redefine the relationship between Buckingham Palace and the woman who, depending on who you ask, either walked away from royal life or was pushed out of it. King Charles has reportedly made his final decision on Meghan Markle's royal title, and what he's decided tells us everything about where the monarchy stands today. To understand why this decision matters so deeply, we need to go back to the beginning. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle married in May 2018, the world watched what felt like a fairy tale unfolding at Windsor Castle. Meghan was not just a new royal bride, she represented something genuinely new for the institution. An American actress, mixed race, divorced, and outspoken. The palace, for its part, presented the union with great fanfare. She was given the title of Duchess of Sussex. And with that title came everything the institution could offer. The patronages, the public duties, the residences, the staff, and the place in the line of succession through her husband. What happened over the next 2 years is well documented. Reports suggest that behind the scenes, Meghan found the institution suffocating. Palace insiders at the time indicated there were serious tensions between her household and other senior royals and their staff. The press coverage in Britain became relentlessly negative. And then in January 2020, Harry and Meghan announced what became known as Megxit, their intention to step back as senior royals, move abroad, and become financially independent. The palace, by most accounts, was blindsided. Queen Elizabeth II, then still on the throne, moved quickly to manage the fallout. A summit was held at Sandringham. Arrangements were made. And crucially, in February 2020, it was confirmed that Harry and Meghan would no longer use their HRH styles in an official capacity. Their Sussex titles, Duke and Duchess, remained. But the use of His Royal Highness and Her Royal Highness was, for all practical purposes, suspended. The question of titles has never really gone away since then. It surfaced again when Harry and Meghan's daughter Lilibet was born in 2021. Under long-standing royal convention, she was not automatically a princess. That changed in September 2022 when Queen Elizabeth passed away and King Charles acceded to the throne. Under the letters patent issued by George V in 1917, the children of the sovereign son are entitled to prince and princess status. And so overnight, Archie became Prince Archie and Lilibet became Princess Lilibet. But what about Meghan herself? Her title as Duchess of Sussex technically remained. And yet palace insiders have long confirmed that the question of what that title means in practice, what it entitles her to, what access it provides, what obligations or protections come with it has been quietly, persistently contested within palace walls. Sources close to the royal household began reporting earlier this year that King Charles had been conducting what amounted to a quiet review of the Sussex situation. This was not, we're told, a dramatic confrontation. It was methodical. Charles, by nature, is said to prefer the diplomatic resolution over the public rupture. But make no mistake, the pressure had been building. Harry's memoir, Spare, released in January 2023, contained revelations that deeply wounded the institution and by many accounts personally stung the king. The Netflix documentary. The Oprah interview, each one stripped away another layer of privacy and goodwill. Palace insiders have revealed that there were factions within the household who felt strongly that the Sussex titles should have been removed entirely in the immediate aftermath of the memoir's publication. Charles reportedly resisted. He is, at his core, a father as well as a monarch, and sources suggest he has never entirely given up hope of some form of reconciliation with his younger son. But then came the escalation that changed the calculation. Reports emerged this spring that Meghan had been making moves to use her Duchess of Sussex title in commercial contexts in a way that palace lawyers found deeply problematic. The concern, sources indicate, was not simply reputational, it was constitutional. A royal title, even one held by someone who has stepped back from official duties, is not in the eyes of the palace a personal brand asset. It carries the weight of the institution. And the suggestion that it was being leveraged for commercial gain in America crossed a line that Charles's advisors felt they could no longer ignore. That is where the legal and institutional machinery began to move. And what happened next was, by palace standards, remarkably swift. According to reports that have emerged from multiple sources in recent weeks, King Charles made his decision quietly without fanfare through the appropriate legal channels. The decision, we're told, does not strip Meghan of the Duchess of Sussex title outright. That would be constitutionally complex and would risk making Harry's children's status uncertain. Instead, what Charles has reportedly authorized is a formal clarification, issued through the College of Arms, that places explicit restrictions on how the title can be used in commercial or public-facing contexts outside of official royal business. In plain terms, Meghan can remain the Duchess of Sussex in name, but the palace has now drawn a hard legal and constitutional line around what that title can and cannot be used for. The reaction from the Sussex camp has been notably muted, which itself speaks volumes. Palace observers have noted that silence from Harry and Meghan in the face of palace action is unusual. They have not historically been slow to respond through their representatives when they feel wronged. The quiet, sources suggest, may reflect the legal advice they've received, namely, that challenging this clarification publicly would risk drawing attention to the very commercial activities that prompted it in the first place. In Britain, the reaction has been layered. Among those who have been critical of the Sussexes since Megxit, Charles's decision has been welcomed as long overdue. Royal commentators who appeared on major British networks this week largely characterized it as the palace finally asserting the proper boundaries between the institution and those who have chosen to operate outside it. Among those who are more sympathetic to Meghan, there is a different reading, that this represents yet another institutional mechanism being used to constrain a woman who has spent years arguing that the palace itself contributed to her distress. What makes this moment particularly significant is what it tells us about Charles's vision for the monarchy. He came to the throne facing questions about relevance, about slimming down the firm, about modernization. He has spoken publicly about his desire for a smaller, more focused royal family. His decision on Meghan's title is consistent with that vision. It draws a clear distinction between those who are working royals, who carry titles with full institutional weight, and those who have chosen a different path. It is not personal, his advisors would likely insist. It is structural, but structure and feeling are not always the same thing. And what this decision ultimately does is make permanent, or at least more permanent than before, the divide between the Sussex household and the working royal family. There will be no quiet restoration of HRH status. There will be no invitation to step back into public duties. The door, sources suggest, has not been slammed, but it has been locked from the inside. So what does this mean going forward? For the monarchy, it represents a statement of institutional confidence, a signal that Charles feels secure enough in his position to make decisions that have the potential to generate controversy. For Harry and Meghan, it narrows their options. Their ability to trade on the Sussex name commercially, which has been a not insignificant part of their identity and arguably their income strategy in America, has been formally curtailed. For the British public, it raises the question that has been at the heart of this saga since 2020. Can you ever really leave the royal family, or does the institution always find a way to remind you that it still holds the cards? What I keep coming back to is this: Meghan Markle did not choose her title. She received it through marriage. She gave up the active duties that came with it. And now the palace is drawing the legal boundaries of what remains. Whether you see that as appropriate institutional governance or as a final, pointed act of control, that probably depends on where you stood on all of this from the beginning. The question worth sitting with is whether this decision brings any kind of resolution, or whether it simply sets the stage for the next chapter. Because if there's one thing this family has consistently shown us, it's that the story is never really over. Let me know in the comments what you think Charles's decision actually signals. Is this the end of the Sussex saga, or the beginning of something new? And if you've been watching this unfold as long as I have, you already know the answer is never simple.